things aren't going to be easy all the time, right? At times things will feel hard, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a terrible holiday season. It's just about, I think, being aware and acknowledging that things are different, that things look different so that you can get a little bit ahead of it. If you're dealing with something that is emotionally difficult, the worst thing you can do for yourself is start treating your body like shit, right? Like not getting sleep, not eating well, drinking too much. It's just going to set your baseline way, way low. Hey, beautiful. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Wellness Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Amber Shaw, and I am so glad that you're here today because I am diving into a topic that I know is close to many hearts, especially this time of year. And if you're navigating the holiday season right now as a newly divorced woman, I want you to know that you're not alone. The holidays already can bring up like so many emotions, right? From loneliness, from just the stress of trying to manage it all to even like nostalgia and sometimes even some unexpected joy, right? But no matter what you're feeling, there are definitely some ways, and I've learned a lot of this over the years of being a divorced woman. There are some ways to create a season that feels meaningful and even more empowering for you. And so in today's episode, I want to just share some tips and strategies to really help you to navigate this, which can be a super hard time of year for many women, especially those who are divorced. So this episode is all about helping you to create a holiday season that feels just right for you and that really brings you joy, even if you're feeling a little bit lonely. So let's dive in. So I want to first just start by sharing a little bit about my experience with the holidays after divorce. I've shared a lot of times on this show. My ex husband and I, Frank, we actually have a very good relationship. Our story is a little bit unique where we've actually been friends since we were 7 years old. And so there is a lot of history there. And so in our divorce, even though the events leading up to the divorce, were not super amicable all the time. And it was very, very painful and very traumatic for me. We were very committed to maintaining our friendship. After we were divorced, when we look at it, we were actually friends. We've been friends longer than we were married. We were together 15 years, but God, we've been friends since we were 7, right? So we were really committed to maintaining our friendship, but even more so was because we wanted to be good co-parents, right? That was really, really important to me because came from a divorced family. I was a product of divorce. My parents were divorced. And fortunately for me, they also were very good co-parents, my dad and my mom, and also then my stepdad. And it all worked really well together. And so I really wanted to create that for my kids. And so after I got divorced, I really worked really hard to try and maintain as much normalcy around the holidays as possible. And I got to tell you, looking back, I wish I would have done things a little bit differently. And it's because for me, I think I don't know if I was like trying to convince myself that everything was okay, or I was so worried about like the kids and them being okay that I was really sacrificing myself during that time. And, I will even say now, almost 5 year post divorce, I have to check myself in some of those situations because I do feel that sometimes in my kind of attempt to just really make things okay and create like the perfect co-parenting situation and all the things, sometimes I put myself in uncomfortable situations because I was talking about this with somebody the other day, and I really do think that divorce is a trauma that eventually becomes a scar. But I do believe that you still are like, I still think that certain things will always trigger you. I do think that there are going to be things that pop up that will always make you pause, that will always hit a nerve, that will always trigger you. And for me, I think that over the holiday season, God, you're just faced with like so many triggers, right? There's so much nostalgia. There's so much, reminders of things, right? And so I think it's totally normal. And so for me, I think that um, I put myself in this situation right off the bat over the holiday season when I first got divorced of really trying too hard to normalize the situation. I wish I would have just given myself a little bit of grace and just a little bit of like getting honest with myself was like, okay, you know what? Like things aren't really okay. Like this is really, really hard. And I think for me, what was hard, because like he came over on Christmas Day, and I don't know that I would have changed that. It's just, I think that there was too much effort to make things the same way that they were when we were married. And the reality of the situation is they weren't the same. They weren't the same. And so there were some moments over the holidays by me trying to normalize the situation so damn hard that, like I said, I put myself in an uncomfortable situation. And it was really, really hard for me. Like I said, or, just a few seconds ago, that's even something now that I have to be careful of just being mindful of my feelings around this. Because again, every now and again, I don't care how many years post you are divorced you are, every now and again, it's totally normal for something to like really take you back or really trigger you, right? So I think for me, that was really my experience over the first few holidays is on some levels it was great that, we have a good co-parenting relationship, we have a good friendship, and so we were able to spend the holidays together and it was awesome. But then, at night when he would go home and I was here by myself, with or without the kids, depending, that's when the emotion would really set in. And I almost wonder if it was worse for me because it was like I was subjecting myself to kind of like what was, right? By just like recreating what we normally do for the holidays, right? And then be slapped back into reality when the house was quiet, right? And so maybe it would have been a little bit different for me if I just would have acknowledged that things are different, that this is that this is hard, right? And maybe if I would have tried to maybe create some new traditions, I think things would have been a little bit different. I know for me back then though, that was just felt overwhelming, especially in my situation we were divorced like officially like right before the holidays, but then even a few years, a couple years after that, right? So I think that is one piece of advice, just kicking this off, that I would give would be, it is okay to admit, or just it is okay to acknowledge that things are different, right? That things are different, but not necessarily looking at it through the lens of things are bad, things are terrible. Just how about looking at it through the lens of things are different? And at times, when you're navigating your emotions over the holidays, especially if this is your first year post divorce, things aren't going to be easy all the time, right? At times things will feel hard, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a terrible holiday season. It's just about, I think, being aware and acknowledging that things are different, that things look different, so that you can get a little bit ahead of it and maybe do things a little bit differently. I think I think for me that was the biggest thing, right? It's like I think it was like I don't want to say I was like in denial, but I think I was just trying so hard to normalize everything that in those moments when things felt not normal, then it really kicked me in the ass. You know what I mean? And then I was really in a hole. And I just think if I would have approached things a little bit differently, then I would have been a little bit more prepared that, okay, this looks completely different this year. And I'm going to do things just maybe a little bit differently. So That for me is, I think, what I wish I would have avoided. The other thing that I wish I would have avoided, and I'm just going to be totally honest with you guys. Damn, I wish I would have drank maybe a little less alcohol those first few those first few years during the holiday season post divorce. Because I got to tell you, like in the moment, as we all know, like yeah, those eggnog martinis felt amazing, right? But then because I was already, my emotional baseline was relatively low because I was just navigating all the crazy emotions of divorce and what that looked like. Then, God, the next day, not only sometimes did I feel physically terrible, but emotionally, it just set me back. And so, this is true. I know this is true not just around the holidays, this is true all the time. Like, God, if you're dealing with something that is emotionally difficult, the worst thing you can do for yourself is start treating your body like shit, right? Like not getting sleep, not eating well, drinking too much. It's just going to set your baseline way, way low. But I think around the holidays, it can be so easy. There's all the delicious foods and the alcohol and all of that, and we can kind of get caught up in it, but sometimes that really can just leave you feeling, not, like I said, not just physically terrible, but just emotionally. And I think that, if you are newly divorced, you really want to be on your A game as best as you can so that you can make decisions and your reactions, to things are just operating from a place of strength and clarity. And so that is the second, I think, piece of advice that I would give is just over the holidays, girl, enjoy yourself, but don't overdo it. Don't overdo it. It's not going to be helpful for you. And also, you don't want to roll into 2025 feeling worse than you did in 2024, right? You really want to put your best foot forward. I would say then probably my third tip here. Are we on number three? I think we're on number three. I would say that my third tip here is I do think it's important to, even though it can feel hard, I do feel like it's important to create some new traditions, to reflect, to celebrate, even though sometimes, especially if you are still stuck in the pain and you are still trying to heal, the word celebrate makes you want to throw up because you're like, what am I celebrating? This is so hard. But just, recognizing and I think just celebrating, just the fact that you are, number one, that you're still standing, girl, right? Like sometimes that's enough to just celebrate, right? But just really some new traditions to reflect your current situation. Right. And they could be small traditions. They could be something small. Maybe it's, on Christmas Eve, there's something special that you do with just you and your kids. Maybe, you decide to on Black Friday, maybe in the past you've always decided to like get up early and go shop the big deals. And then this year, maybe you know what, you're gonna be do something a little different. You're gonna sleep in. That's your new tradition, right? It doesn't have to be huge, but I do think that creating some of these new these new things that you do, these new things you celebrate, these new traditions, can be refreshing and can breathe a little bit of some new life into a holiday season, especially if it's feeling like an emotional one, right? Especially if you're having a hard time with it. So that would definitely be my third tip there. Another tip that I want to share is that one of the things that I have really, really enjoyed in the last few years is really taking some time for myself over the holiday season. I know as moms, we can get so crazy into, buying all the presents and doing this and bouncing from this holiday gathering to this and just really kind of running ourselves ragged. I can tell you one of the one of the benefits of being divorced is that guess what? As a mom, it doesn't have to be all on you anymore to buy all the presents for the kids. Okay, that can free up some time. My ex-husband and I, we pick one kid. He'll get for sure. We usually set a budget. Okay, and I'm not a big believer in spending thousands and thousands of dollars on kids over like on Christmas. Sometimes I just, everybody has their own thoughts on this, but for me, I think because I grew up with, I had six brothers and sisters. We didn't have a lot of money. I just think that it can be excessive. And I think for a lot of us, our kids definitely get a lot of stuff throughout the year, but I just don't think that. Christmas needs to be so crazy excessive. And so my ex-husband and I, we set a relatively low budget, like seriously. I mean, I think when they were younger, we set the budget at like $250 because you can buy a shit ton of stuff from Target for $250. Now that they're older though, girl, that $250 don't get them jack. Okay. You know this, right? With all these, my 13-year-old buying stuff from wanting stuff from Sephora and Lululemon and all the things. Good God. So, yeah, we had to up the budget a little. Okay. But in order to take some of the burden off of myself, he takes Shaw, my son, and I buy for Avery. And then we stick to the budget. And that's how that rolls. And so, because I'm not feeling like I have to be in charge of everybody and everything now for the holidays, I really love taking some time for myself. In fact, every year I block off a day and I just go shopping. And actually, I don't even go shopping for anybody else. I actually go shopping for myself. What am I going to buy myself? And I go to the mall and I love the mall because all the lights, it feels festive. And I get my favorite freaking holiday drink from Starbucks. And I just, for hours, this is obviously when the kids are at school, and I go first thing in the morning and I just go all day. Like, when's the last time, seriously, you had an all day shopping trip for yourself? And a lot of times I go shopping for myself, but I barely even buy anything. I just like to be out and about. I like to just be celebrating the holiday season. And so if you don't take a day for yourself, and I'm not talking, you don't have to even shop for anybody else. I just want you to take a day for yourself, because I don't know about you, but like, sometimes we can blink and the holiday season is over. Because when you think about it, it's like as soon as Thanksgiving hits, we have a month. And you don't know how quick a month can go by. And God, think about how beautiful like your town looks, and the stores look, and just everything I just think is magical during this time. And oftentimes, especially if you're a single divorced mom and you feel like you're barely treading water, you might not have any time to enjoy it. So I want to encourage you to really take a beat and spend some time with yourself and go enjoy the damn holiday decor, enjoy the season, just everybody. I think is in such a beautiful, spirited mood over the holiday season. Not everybody, but you know what I'm saying. People just tend to be a little bit nicer, right? So enjoy that. It's so important to just really, I think, during this time, embrace some downtime, right? I know for me, I really try really hard to take off between Christmas and New Year's, and really do very minimal when it comes to my company, just because I know January is going to be full throttle. And whether or not you own your own company or not, that is for most people. But just taking some downtime to enjoy the holiday season so it doesn't pass you by. And the last thing that I want to share is, and this is really important for just every day. This is important for every day, but God, I think particularly around the holidays, how important it is to have a daily gratitude and mindfulness practice. I think if you are somebody and you're listening to this who is going through a very difficult time and the holidays just feel emotionally unbearable, I really want to challenge you to just spend a little bit of time every day just finding something that you're grateful for. Something, just something. Spend 5 minutes and close your damn eyes and take a beat to yourself and think about one thing that you're grateful for. And I know that sounds cliche, and I know everybody says that, but good God, it is so true. The power that can have, just just what it does to your dopamine release, right? When you actually, it's not even just about thinking what you're grateful for. It's also allowing yourself to like feel it, embody it, right? It really feel in your body where you feel that joy and that gratitude. It really will change your day. And even if you are in the depths of, and a low, low place right now with where you're at, you very simply can think of one thing that you're grateful for, and it really can make a difference. So I want to encourage you to do that. And I just want to remind you too that you do have the power to shape your holiday experience. Okay. And this, as we know, it's like what we focus on and what what we put our attention on, that is what manifests. Right. And so if we are putting our attention and our focus on how, sad we feel and how miserable we feel and how, this is such a hard holiday season and all of that. I'm not saying it's not wrong to have those moments that you feel that, but if you're constantly focusing on that, that is what you're going to feel the entire holiday season. And so, as we wrap this up, I just want to encourage you just to find those moments of joy this holiday season and really get kind of ahead of it by recognizing and honoring the fact that things are different this holiday season. And it doesn't make it wrong and it doesn't make it bad. At times it may feel that way, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? Things are just different. And so it's okay for you to approach this holiday season just a little bit differently, with a little bit of compassion, a little bit of grace, a little bit of downtime, a little bit of peace and quiet, right? A little bit of changing up some traditions. It doesn't have to be a total overhaul, but just some small things. And that's what I want to leave you with today. So, I really would love for you guys to reach out to me on Instagram. I love, as we're really starting to lean into on the show. If you've been a longtime listener of this show, you may have seen that there is a pivot that we have started to lean into that really is that mirrors my pivot on like on Instagram and in my business, where I am really leaning into coaching divorced women, particularly coaching divorced women on how to start an online business, which I'm super freaking excited about. But, as we are, making these shifts in the show, I really want to hear from you guys. Like, what topics do you want me to talk about, right? What do you want to hear more about? What types of guests? If you have guest ideas, I would love for you guys to send that over to me on Instagram, like I said, or any topics. Send me a message over on Instagram, a direct message. This show really is for you. And so, how I can serve you best. So, I would love to hear from you. So, thank you so much for listening today, and I'll catch you on the next one.